Okay, let's go for it. Good evening and welcome to everybody, and how are you? And hello to Wayne, how are you mate? Just a Basic, good evening. One-Eyed Woody, good evening to you. Doug Miller, good evening and welcome. And Mark Pritchard, hello Mark, how are you? Good evening sir. And Buddy Dean, good evening. Good evening to Dave Oatey as well. Good evening and welcome, Dave. Steve Robbins, hello and welcome. John M, good evening. Hello. Kim Ronnie, good evening to you. Rob CP, good evening to you as well. And welcome, of course. I hope you're enjoying a warm evening like I am. It's 26 degrees in the shop. And that is warm. Well, it is for me anyway. And also, a good evening. I'm joined by the loyal pit crew, Mr. Pete. I was going to say Pete Townsend, then that would be a first one. Pete Ravenscroft, Twisted Trees, aka, and also a welcome return to Mr. Mark Beckett, the gentleman woodturner. Just a quick favour, Pete, you didn't come up on screen then? Hang on. Yes, you did. Yeah, you're okay. That's all right. Not that we want to see him, do we, folks? But there you go. Andy Best, good evening. Hello, how are you? Woodturning by Barry, good evening. Joseph, good evening, Joseph. How are you? And they're not going to be small captive rings like you do. He does them the size of a pinhead. But I won't make any comment on that. Forever Turning, Peter Kipfer, good evening to you and welcome. Vincent Charlton, good evening to you. Simon Gnidowski, good evening to you and welcome. I think I've caught up with that now. David Vaughan, good evening and welcome. Woodworm Paul, hello Paul, how are you? Good evening. Russell Clark, old Clarky, good evening Russ, how are you mate? And I didn't get fish poisoning. Great day mate. Good to see you again. Hello Bram, how are you? Good evening and welcome. Edward Wirrett, good evening to you. Neil Scott Robinson, good evening to you, Neil. And Malcolm Winder, or Winder, I will say Winder, good evening and welcome to you. Nice to see you in Great Chart yesterday. Malcolm Winder. Well, that is surprising because I don't remember meeting you there yesterday, Malcolm. Please explain. Ronnie, good evening to you. How are you? Orjan Berg, good evening to you and welcome. Bibbs Workshop, good evening and welcome to you. Dave Oatey, good evening. Oh, we're talking colour. Oh my goodness me. Come on Dave, give me a break. John Milburn, good evening to you and welcome. I must apologise to everybody that I didn't get the promo up on Facebook before this morning because well, I was otherwise engaged yesterday, so and I worked till very late Friday, and in honesty I forgot. So there. What's happened here now? Joe, it's not that anybody's really interested, but hello Stuart, good evening, how are you? No, I'm not colouring the goblet. See you Stu, thanks for coming in mate, take care. Good evening Colin, how are you? Michael Jackson, good evening. Hope all is well with you too, welcome mate. Oh, what was I going to say, I can't remember. Do you know what, my memory is getting worse, if that's at all possible. Yeah, it's not alcohol, I've not had it for a few days. But, well, quite a while actually. But we were offered it down at Ed's yesterday, but obviously driving wasn't a good idea. See you, see you Stuart, bye. Right, just going to pop out a shot a minute. Wonder what that's for. No, do you want? I'll keep the lads on. That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Just keep the lads talking to you if necessary. I'm just gonna have a quick vape because it's 26 degrees in here today. Oh, good evening, Copper Owl. Somebody asked a question earlier on, am I doing a thin stem goblet? The answer to that is no, I'm not tonight. Main reason is time, and you know, I've done a couple in my life. No, I've done a couple on the lives, so I just thought it was just going to be a basic goblet actually, and the main reason for tonight's, or the main topic for tonight's video is using the spindle gouge for everything, and I'll be end grain hollowing differently to what I normally would do. I'm going with a push cut instead of the pull cut, which is something I don't always do, excuse me, but I'm just trying to show the versatility of the spindle gouge. And on a long stem goblet I tend to use a skew, as I do on all my goblets on the stems, but I shan't be doing that this evening either. So, right, okay. Why is that then? Desktop audio's on. Why is that then? I've got no idea. Oh, NDI source. Right, sorry guys, that's my fault yet again. Hello Andy, how are you? Andy Shamoy, and TJ.
Have you clicked the button yet?
Yeah, I've done it. So can
the chat hear us now? Sorry, can the chat hear us now? Somebody could say yes or no.
Could somebody just indicate you can hear Mark talking?
Terry from TJ Turnings in. Hi Terry.
Evening Terry.
Yep.
Oh,
yep,
great, thanks. Yeah, it's my fault.
Thank you, Kim.
What I'll have to do is ask my pit crew to remind me to always turn on the NDI source in OBS. I mean, I did well. I've got my headset on, and I also have the desktop audio on.
Adds to list of things to tell
Yes.
Mike.
It's a big list, isn't it? How much memory you've got in that phone. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody. Hello, Simon, Fall Coast. Good evening, and welcome to you.
Leona Faye's in. Hi, Leona.
Oh, Leona. Good evening to you. I did not, you know, you mentioned that yesterday, Leona, about not bothering to face off bowls. The main reason I like to face off bowls, and that's just me, and I'm not sort of a multi-bowl turner anyway, is to balance it up to increase the RPMs. And of course I didn't realise Ed had the bowl going at 500 RPM when I was turning, and then he turned it up to 1200 RPM when he was turning, which I found out sort of about a quarter of the way through. But anyway, that's the reason. And it also, we were chatting about this earlier on actually, and that also gives you a chance to see what the wood looks like. It gives you and as Mark aptly put it, a blank canvas to see what's there. And that's, again, time is not a problem. So it might be quicker not to do it. And the other thing as well, if it's out of true, the face is out of true, when you're trying to shape it, it's bouncing. You know, your bevel hasn't got anything nice and smooth to contact. That's my reasoning anyway. Good evening, Oliver's Wood Turning. How are you? Has he got paints? Yeah, I've got...
Evening, Ed.
That's the sum total of my paints, and I've also, like Henry Ford, I've got it in black. And that's it. My intrinsic nozzles are literally bunged up. Because that mushroom I did a couple of weeks ago, you know, which took me a heck of a long time. I mean, I had to actually tip it out because the spray bits were all bunged up. Great day yesterday, Ed, thank you. again. I'm not going to thank you anymore. Patrick Sasman, good evening and welcome. Lawrence Bajega, good evening to you. And Kevin C. Ryan, good evening and welcome. And if I've missed anybody, it is my pit crew's fault, not me. I will not take...
No, we're not on duty yet.
Okay, oh, that's true. John M, good evening, how are you? I'm going back. Clive Williams, good I think I got to Andy then. Andy Flannetley, my old buddy. Right, okay, that's good. A couple of minutes.
Patrick
We'll go on.
Patrick Sasman,
Yes,
did you
I
say
said
him?
good evening to Patrick. As I will say at 7:30 when it all starts officially, if you enjoy what you see, or if you don't enjoy what you see, you just want to buy me a coffee to get rid of me, if you wouldn't mind, if you want to help the channel, if you go to buymeacoffee.com as opposed to the super chat, we would be much appreciative. That's not good English, is it? We would be much appreciative, we would be. That's the sort of way that Bram, the Ways Milk Turner, would speak, I think. I think we'd be much appreciative, we would. We'd appreciate it. Nigel, don't worry about Ed's screen. I can't get the camera down here, but I've got a great big splodge of red on my jeans. And I managed to get my hands clean.
Well, I hear that a couple of garages are making bids for Ed's screen now.
Switching to spy chatters. Switching to TV. Don't know what that means, Leona, but cheerio.
I mean, she's moving in to watch us on her big screen
Oh, I
TV,
see.
so she won't be able to chat.
There's nothing to see here, Leona, don't bother. Cunning stunts, my old mate Graham Light. I have to practice in my head before I say that, you realise that, don't you? Hello, Graham, and welcome.
Hi, Graham.
Nice to see you. Have I
Graham.
missed anybody? No, I haven't. No, that's okay. That's good. Right, I'm going to just put on the break for a second, and the lads will keep you entertained, and then we'll go all official at 7:30. See you in a minute. At the top, and it's at the top of the chat too, let me tell you. I think I did mention
He's
it.
back.
Yes, and I heard what you said, just because I muted myself didn't mean to say I was deaf as well. Shay, BB Turning,
Oops.
good evening, how are you? And Kevin Ryan, I might have said hello to you, but hello again. YV, good evening, my old friend. And Douglas Mungum, good evening to you, and welcome, of course. I have to say, it was like going to Aladdin's cave yesterday. Not Ed's house, because that's a tip, but the actual show, the showroom is wonderful, and it was great. And yeah, I did buy a few things. Not much, actually, for me, but nevertheless, I'm going to start thread chasing now.
You realise Karen's going to kick you the next time she sees you for saying that.
Karen kicks me all the time, and I love it. Okay.
So when's the thread chasing demo going to be?
Oh, 3 years, 4 years. By the time I get into it. I read the instructions first. I will look at some YouTube videos, but
Get some PVC pipe and practice on
yeah.
that. Some waste
Well,
pipe.
somebody said a candle actually as well. Candle's very good.
Yeah, candle. Yeah.
Have you got to light it though? That's the thing.
Yeah. It's got to be burning when you do it.
Okay, let's have a bit of fire. Okay, it is now 7:30 by my clock anyway, which is not 2 hours slow like Ed's is. Good evening and welcome to everybody. And today is going to be a goblet video with a couple of captive rings. Now, by suggestion, I'd like to introduce you. I'm sure most of you were here when I did. My trusty pit crew, one's on the screen now. That's Pete, Twisted Trees.
Hey everyone.
And also the welcome return of Mark Beckett, Mark the Gentleman Woodturner.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all well.
And there he is in his finery, with his not new table saw behind. It's just that Pete has got very poor observational skills.
Been there the whole time.
Not my fault. We were burying shavings last time I looked at the bookshop.
Terry Bartlett, good evening to you, sir, and welcome. And Mama Bears, good evening to you, Mama. Some of you, or maybe even all of you, may be aware that yesterday I had the great pleasure of travelling right the way down the M1, M25, M20 and going to visit the one and only Mr. Ed Oliver of Oliver's Woodturning fame. And we had a great time in the workshop for a couple of hours, or maybe an hour and a half. It seemed like half a day, but nevertheless it was good fun. And Ed actually got me to do some colouring. Now, this piece is not a representation of my ability of colouring. It is more a representation of my inability of colouring. One thing that I think Mr. Oliver knew is that I did say I've got small jaws, but not as small as these. I haven't got those, but I will sort it out. And I'd like to draw your attention to the wonderful OG shape at the bottom there, which I managed to repair because Ed ruined it. And the colour technique is something new, and this is for Stuart Farini, Wayne the Woodturner, and all you colourists out there. It's called the finger. It's the Walt finger technique. It sounds a little bit rude. It's not meant to be. If you want to know what this finger technique is, pop across to Ed Oliver's channel and have a look at the live about halfway through, and you'll see me applying the finger technique, and it might be the subject of a 4 or 5 part live series in the future when I've perfected the technique. And the other thing I'd like you to note as well, that here, and bear in mind that Mr. Oliver deemed this to be finished because he finished this last little bit here, there are 5 screw holes still on the rim. Now, whether he knew they were there and expected me not to notice, my wife noticed actually, because I didn't. So I've got some work to do there, Ed, and thank you very much for that. Okay, so let's get on with what's on tonight. I'm going to be doing a goblet. It is a relatively small piece of dry ash. It measures 7 inches as it is there, and it'll give us about a 2.5, 3 inch diameter blank. Now, the reason for doing a goblet yet again is purely to go through the use of the spindle gouge. I'll be using a 3/8 spindle gouge for most of the turning, apart from the roughing down and the parting off. The hollowing, the end grain hollowing, I won't be using the usual method I use, which is back hollowing. I'll be using a push cut, just as effective, and in fact, when I do it anyway, it leaves a better finish, providing you don't get the catches and so on and so forth. Now, the captive rings, I would normally use a captive ring tool, and I did a bit of practice this afternoon, and with my detail gouge part of my double-ended Simon Hope 3/8 spindle gouge, I have a 30-degree bevel, and that I use as my detail gouge, and I was able to release rings using that. So that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. So a few might fly off, but that doesn't matter. It's not a problem. So to prove the versatility, if you like, of the relatively humble 3/8 spindle gouge. Okay, so without further ado, we shall go to the overhead, and I'll be wearing my, come back to me again, my trusty safety glasses. Always advised to wear some respiratory equipment as well, but obviously for a demo it's not possible to talk and to wear a respirator as well. And I'm sure some of you would prefer it that way, but there you go. Okay, so I'll be using, as I say, my roughing gouge to rough it down. Have the lathe turned off, turn him on, wind the speed up. Now this particular, just check that everything is down and locked. This particular bank's a little bit out of true, so there's a little bit of a wobble, but I'll go through that. We're spinning at around 1600 knots. So again, handling this side, now get yourself nice and comfortable to the end of the cut, and engage the cut and no, funny enough, this is one I tried myself, but I think what I must have done is got the idea off Ed. Low to high, if you like, but when you get it sort of uneven equally, it's a much better situation. Taking quite a big factor, really improving, so I know that it's finished. Just wants to be low, finish anyway. Okay, and a little bit of a finishing cut at 45 degrees, just to give a sort of a relatively nice surface. Not that that's essential, because most, if not all, of what you see here is going to be turned away anyway. Good evening, Colin. How are you? So we've now got it to round. Having a look, well, nearly, there's a little bit there, but that doesn't matter. There were a few cracks in this, little hairline cracks I noticed this afternoon, so I just flooded with thin CA glue, and it seems to have done the trick. I will take it down one more pass, just to, because that is going to be the goblet bowl, so I don't really start shaping that, and then so it's not vertical round. Ah, right. Then that must be something to do with YouTube then, because I've double checked that. But you can hear me on the lathe, presumably, lads. Well, I am a womble with a cold, so it's a very accurate. It's a very accurate description of me. Okay, so we will be putting a tenon on this end here, and what I like to do is to sort of try and balance out what I'm going to do. And the rule of thirds is a very rough thing. I don't work to technical spec really, just what looks good. But if I'm going to be doing a tenon, let's say there, then I've got to want a little bit more than that maybe, and then I'm going to be taking there so I can part off maybe. So that's the sort of area I'm going to be wasting with one thing and another. So the basic goblet's going to be coming up here. So what I'll do now, I would normally take a 1/2 inch. Yep. Oh. Right, excuse me all. I'll just go. Right, are you having a problem? No, let's have a look. Right. I am on my headset here. Wireless lab. No, that's off. That's off. I've just got the Jabra headset on and desktop audio. Ah, hang on. Where's that gone? Ah, hang on a minute. That's disappeared. Oh no, that comes on with that, doesn't it? Yeah, that comes on with that. Yeah, so NDI source is okay. If you speak, Pete.
Pete, you're muted.
Oh, that's okay. You talked.
But I'm
Yeah.
muted because I'm trying to listen to it through YouTube. So
Well, I tell you, this is the first time this has happened, and I don't know what's going on, actually. It just proves it doesn't matter how many tests you do. Right, let's have a look. In audio.
Nigel Oram saying when the lathe is on, it's really loud and it drowns you out.
Right. I have to say that I did put an update. There was an update for the headset. And
Yeah, we're still here.
yeah, hang on a minute.
Graham. Graham says we've cleared off. No, we're still here.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. It's actually not showing up in any of the global audio devices in settings. Right. So, what do I do there? Desktop audio is disabled. Microphone HD web. Alright, let's try this.
Sorry about this, folks,
Yeah,
but we
I do
obviously want to get the
apologise,
right
yeah.
experience for you.
No, I can't get it. Oh, would I have to put it on desktop audio? Yes, I would, wouldn't I?
yeah.
Yeah. There we go. No, that should be okay now. Okay, people, is that improved at all? Right, I'll start the lathe up, I'll do a bit of turning, and if you would be so kind as to let me know whether you can hear me or not. Okay, so again, we've got the lathe running around.
Camera mic.
We've got the lathe, thank you. I've gone all to pot now. All to pot. Got the lathe running 1600 RPM. I'm not going to do anything fancy with regards to the cut. I'm just going to try and just get an idea of where the actual it's going to be. And again, very similar to using any tool, use my body to move the wood. Now, bearing in mind this is just a 3/8 spindle gouge, not something that I would normally use to just hog away wood. It's not capable, it's just obviously not as stable as either a 3/8 full gouge that I might use or indeed a half-inch spindle. Lifting the handle now, keeping this over in contact with it, just to get some semblance of a shape. Something like that, yes, and that's obviously going to come down a bit more, so I'm quite happy with that. I want to keep as much wood there for stability, so that's going to be the sort of the bulk of what you think. So the next thing I'll do now is the tenon, and again using a parting tool, I'll just face off the edge.
Yeah, we've got a problem, mate.
Hey,
Still got a problem with the sound.
still got a problem with it.
Yeah. Mark's just been listening through YouTube. He'll tell you what's going on.
Well, even
Yeah,
now,
Mike, when you're on the lathe, it sounds like you're on a webcam mic and not your headset. All the sound that they can hear is just literally the lathe. They can't hear your voice at all.
this is really weird. I've got no idea what I should be doing here, to be honest with you. No idea at all. This is really, really annoying.
Sits
Leave
in
the
your,
camera where it is. What's your OBS audio settings?
Right, Sorry again, people. We're going to have to go in here. Audio settings are right. Headset on the desktop audio. I've got the Jabra. Desktop audio 2 disabled. Mic auxiliary audio there is one of the webcams, but I've got that disabled. You know, in the little window on the main screen. Auxiliary audio 2 is not connected or available. Auxiliary 3 is Camlink 4, which it would be if it was connected. And device not connected on auxiliary.
Right, so you haven't got your headset
4.
mic in there at all?
Yeah, it's on the desktop audio.
No, that's me and Mark.
Ah, right. So I need it somewhere.
You need your
desktop audio 2 then, or auxiliary, because it doesn't.
auxiliary.
It doesn't show up in
You
auxiliary.
should be able to select it from a
Oh, yes,
list
it
of the
does.
properties.
Yeah, auxiliary. Try that then. Okay, so I've got the Jabra on that as well. Okay, so I got. I don't see how that's going to make any difference, but because it's not showing up here, you see, it's not showing up in the audio mixer. Or is it?
So it should be,
No,
it should
it's
be in the
not.
audio mixer.
It's not. All I got is a Jabra headset.
Right, Jabra headset in the audio mixer is fine.
Yeah.
You should also have desktop audio in the audio mixer, yeah?
Yes.
They should both be on.
Yeah, they are.
Right.
Hmm.
So that should be okay.
Right. Well, I'll carry on and we'll see how it goes. All right. Again,
Yeah.
huge apologies, guys. These things happen. Well, they haven't happened to me for a while. It's because I went down to Ed.
Sorted now, so turn the lathe on and give that a try.
Yeah, because I went down to Ed Oliver's yesterday. See, I've caught his bug of having mistakes. Yeah. Okay. So what I got to do now is to face off the back just to make it. Might be an idea to have a bit of light on the subject, just to make it. Square.
All good, Mike. Well done.
Okay now?
Yeah.
All good. Excellent. Thank you. Again, apologies for that, people.
Yeah, let's blame Ed. That'll be fun.
Okay. Now, with the sea jaws, as I've said many times before, they're not dovetailed internally, and they have a lip, and the jaws are actually flat. So I put a little cut in there with a thin parting tool so that lip can grab down on there. And the thing is, you have to make sure that that lip is deep enough so that the main part of the jaws can actually clamp down onto the rest of the tenon. It's a very secure way of holding. I don't know whether it's much better than a dovetail, to be honest with you, but I've had no problems with it. And that just goes back there. That's running pretty smooth, but I tend to like to put the tailstock up before I tighten.
Benjamin saying it's still not working here. It's made you sound Welsh.
Or maybe it's working better than it should do, Ben. And funny enough, at Mr. Oliver's yesterday, there wasn't one mention of the Welsh or sheep worrying or anything, which I find really quite refreshing. Not much
You weren't listening to the same stream we were then.
No. Right, okay. So that is the basic shape. I'm just going to refine that a tiny little bit. In fact, a tiny little lot. Again, just rub in the bevel, lift the handle, and just go along nice and easy. That's basically okay. And and just run along the surface.
We're a couple of new joiners. Andy H is returning.
Good
John
evening.
McDonald. William Kenny.
Lift the handle towards the middle. And that, just sort the little end out there. Just get that parallel. Light cuts. And that will just give us our basic goblet shape.
Joe Senior's coming as well.
Good evening, Joe, and welcome to you. Now I got to face off the front, and this is a cut that I do like doing, but I would normally do it with a 1/2 inch spindle gouge for no other reason other than I would. I just want to make that square. So again, just don't push into the wood. Let the point, I've got the bevel at parallel with the front of the blank. There you've got the bevel, and just let the tool go across the work. It's not essential here to have it perfectly flat because it's going to be hollowed out. But it just gives you an idea what it's got to look at, and slow it towards the middle. And that I should have actually done that on the camcorder there so you could see, but you can see a really nice surface. And what I'm going to do now, funny enough, I was watching Les Thorne, who I have a great deal of admiration for, and he is one of the world's best demonstrators without a doubt in my view. He was saying, because I quite often will drill a depth hole with the gouge, put the gouge on center and push the gouge into the depth I want. Now that's nice and quick, it's true, but something I never thought of, and I've only been turning 10 years, that will actually blunt your tool, won't it? Because it's going in and you're using it as a drill. So the other option, which might be a thought, we've got some nice cracking going on there as well, but it is a demo, so we're not too bothered, is just get a skew chisel or some similar, just to make a little indent, and we'll use a hand drill, just so the drill has something to register against. This could be fun because I haven't actually done it for a while, because I tend to use my spindle gouge all the time. So just get an ordinary drill, like so. I've got this in a quick release handle, and turn the speed down a little bit, and we want to go to about there, and get it on center. No pressure at this stage, let it center itself, and then literally just push in. Bring out, get the swarf out, push in, pull out. When you pull out like this, don't jab it in, because 9 times out of 10 you miss. Very light, let it find itself, and push in. And there we go. And we've got our depth hole, as easy as that. And that saves the edge of your spindle gouge. So for
those who don't know that tool, Mike, can you hold that in front of the camera?
I'm sorry?
That drill with the handle,
oh, okay.
Hold that in front of the camera,
I've got the face.
Don't know it.
All that is there, it's I got that off eBay, about 3-4 quid, a very cheap, quick release handle, chuck, and I just epoxied it into a handle, and that's all it is, basically. And I can put whatever size drill I like in there. In the early days, I actually epoxied a drill into a handle, but there's no point really, because that means you're limited to using that particular drill bit size. But they're great, and they are cheap. And I think when I bought this about 5 or 6 years ago, it was a pair. That's how cheap. They're about 5-6 quid for two. I mean, they're very. I think I got them from China actually as well. But you're not using it to drill precise metal or on your pillar drill. It's purely for a depth hole. So yeah, it's. But I will start using that now instead of using the gouge for a while.
Can I just ask the chat if they can actually hear the earworms, please? So I had a couple of messages from people. So they can't hear us.
Oh God. Yeah, but the end. Can you talk a minute?
Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Tonight. Pete, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk?
Yeah, can you hear us as well?
Right, guys, before I carry on, this is... I wish Ed Oliver hadn't accepted my...
Yes, they can hear us.
They can hear. Oh, that's good. I'll take it back, Ed. I won't say what I was going to say then. Okay.
You say it anyway.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I caught it. I mean, I've had both my COVID. I've had both my COVID vaccinations, but I haven't had my anti-Ed Oliver vaccination yet. So I'm still waiting for that. So I might have caught something off him, which caused all this hassle tonight. Okay, we'll go back. I think on this one we'll go to the camcorder. I could actually zoom in a little bit for you. That's zooming out, Mike. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Now, normally, again, still using the 3/8 spindle gouge, normally I would back hollow. I would raise the tool rest a bit and I'd back hollow with to the left of the nose and using the left wing. But what I'm going to do now is treat this basically like a little bowl and do a push cut. So, again, with a lathe running, I always say as high as you like, but as high as you're happy turning, okay? It's turning at 1500 RPM at the moment, and literally you're turning a small bowl, okay? So it's just nice and easy. Pick up the cut, swing your body in as you would with a bowl, as Ed was trying to tell me yesterday, and you get a run back. Why did I get a run back? Because I was talking and I actually engaged the point without the bevel. But it's not a great problem, because I was going to say, because it happens all the time. No, because if you're not concentrating... Now, the big advantage of doing this way, if you like, is that... Let's just face that off. I'll stop for a minute and talk, I think. The advantage of doing it this way is that you are pushing towards the headstock. So if your goblet is longer, the stem, like the blank has got to be longer. If you're actually pulling out, you could dislodge it from its mountings, if you like. So there is that advantage as well. When you're actually, I'm not putting any pressure on it. I'm just letting the wood come down onto the edge and in. So to leave a bit of stability in there, we can start hollowing and leaving the middle bit in like you would with a bowl. Now I keep saying it's only a 3/8 spindle gouge, but I am still, what I can actually start properly. I tell you what, right, concentrate. Okay, so when you go in like so, it gives you the option. Now, what was I doing wrong? Not concentrating, go in, put your finger behind, I will not be beaten. I will not be beaten. It worked wonderfully this afternoon. Right, okay, let's go again. This is, annoyingly, beyond report. Right, so, let's start again, shall we? There we go. Now we're there. Now I am taking rather large amounts away, but that's not a problem. Now I can get rid of the middle. I notice my pit crew have gone very quiet. But what it goes to show is, I mean, I honestly have hollowed an awful lot of goblets, this way and the other way. You still have to concentrate. But the big thing is, if I was holding this gouge absolutely white knuckle, and I was getting those feedbacks and a catch or whatever, you can hear that resonance now because I'm taking too much wood. And I'm going too fast, which is not advisable. So lighter cuts, and then that resonance stops. So nice and easy. Come down. This might actually need a touch up. Now what I'm doing is trying to decide how deep is my valley. That is very hot now, so I'm going to just give it a quick...
Mike, on your way to the Pro Edge,
Yeah.
can you mute NDI source and leave unmuted desktop and Jabra headset?
Are we still having a problem?
Yeah. That's why we've been quiet, because we've been echoing.
We've been echoing.
So, desktop audio, take that off.
No, leave that on.
Yeah.
NDI audio, mute that.
NDI audio. Muted.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So desktop audio and Jabra should be unmuted and NDI muted, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, chat, can we be heard without echo now?
Oh dear, I tell you what, it's been a bit of a nightmare,
Echo's
hasn't
gone.
it?
Echo's gone.
Echo's gone, is it?
Sorted, well done.
Okay.
Sorry, Mike, we didn't want to interrupt you again.
No,
especially
it's all right. No,
with that,
apart from
that
having a problem getting a lot of skating back, and one of the thing, guys, is this, and this is not an excuse, it's a reason. If you don't concentrate, these sort of things happen, and that's fine. But as long as you know how to overcome it and how to lessen the problem when it arises. And the big thing is, especially when you're doing a live demo as well, you think, well, hang on, this has got to go right, otherwise I can't finish what I'm doing. But what you've got to do is take a step back in your head and start afresh and think, what am I doing wrong? What I was doing wrong was I was pushing too hard because I wanted to make up for lost time, as it were, and I wasn't giving the wood a chance to be penetrated, if you like, with the point of the gouge before I twisted to get my bevel to start my cut. So as long as you can understand, and I keep saying this all the time, I understand the things that I do wrong, but I don't always manage to get them right, but at least I know what I need to do to get it right. And here endeth the first lesson. So what I'll do, I'll put you on... I'll put you back on that again. You can't see me, but the guys can...
Let's go to the Pro Edge now. We don't have a Pro Edge cam set up for today.
So I'll just do a very quick...
Thank God for that.
See, I just thought that Ed has been firing flats on the sides of your chisels to make them tip over.
Right. Turn the old Pro Edge on, a couple on the left wing. I'll talk you through it, a couple on the right wing, and then nice and easy over the nose and back. And then we should be done. That didn't take too long. Okay. So, again, rub the bevel, pick up the cut, and oh yes.
Drop your mic down.
I would say that audio is not good. What do you say, Mark?
I think Mike's just got his microphone up a little bit.
Sorry, well, it's still not good.
That's better. No, that's better. That's better.
Yeah, because I'm not turning.
Too high, you're quiet.
Sorry?
No, we're just not used to you not being talking.
All right, okay. I don't know whether I should be insulted or...
Yeah, you should be, but you know, That's what you pay us for.
But I won't be.
Richard Beerton is just commenting that his turning has improved a lot since he got his Pro Edge.
Sorry?
It's going to make a big difference.
Now, the one thing I will say is that the reason that, and I'm going to come off here because the gouge is getting very warm, as you can expect. When I was having a quick go with this afternoon, because I haven't done this for quite a while properly, I was using oak and I was having no problem at all. And I'm having what one would call now, if I use my half-inch spindle gouge, I wouldn't be getting any problem at all, but it can be done with your 3/8. Whether it's always a good choice to do it, I don't know. That is only something that you can decide. So, again, we go in, just put the nose in very slightly, and then twist. Get your bevel. And then you're away. Now that's what I wasn't doing in the beginning, because I was talking and not concentrating. So again, just to show you, your thumb goes behind to try and stop it skating, but when it's traveling at sort of 1600 RPM, it's going to skate whatever. So again, have the bevel at 90 degrees to the face of the work, and just press the nose up very lightly and then twist. Now when you twist in, now I've got a bevel, now I can go straight in if I want to at 90 degrees. So that's what I shall do to about here. Okay, so again I've got a bit of a bevel there, but I'll go in at 90, twist the bevel, and I'm literally going in straight down. And the same here. And I think...
Basically, the line of the bevel dictates the direction of travel.
Indeed. Whichever way your bevel is facing, that is where your cut is naturally going to want to go. But this ash, and again, not an excuse, is a very hard wood. And it is amazing how much heat that will generate. So we slow the cut down. As you can see, shaving's much finer now. I always say we're not in a race, but it's funny, when you're doing a demo, you don't want to spend too much time on things that people, well, everybody finds everything boring, I do, I suppose, but, you know, so you don't want to be putting too much pressure in. And you can see I'm getting a nice shaving now. Bringing it round, up a bit. I'm just trying to think, I'm nearly at the hole. Okay. And the other thing, of course, because I'm not deep, but I have a 45-degree bevel on this spindle gouge, what I normally have. And I just want to stop there and try and zoom in, not to say how clever I am, but I think you can see, apart from there's a few cracks in this as well, that the the finish off the tool. And yes, it is bouncing a bit because of the wood and possibly me, but on a serious note, that does give, by and large, a better, I'll keep it there for a minute for you actually, it does by and large give a better finish off the tool. So pick up the cut. And now I've just got to work on the middle. Now that I might try back hollowing. No, it's just not having it. Not having it at all. I'll tell you what, we're going to go one more to the... Keep talking, lads, if you would.
Right.
Once more to the breach, my friends. Once more, we will go to Mr. Pro Edge.
Anthony Green's asked, did you say that this was ash?
Yes, I did. It's very dry, very hard ash. I would say that, wouldn't I? But it is. It's very dry, hard ash.
Mark's already answered in the chat, but Clive Williams is new to turning, and he's asking about why it's getting hot.
Why it's getting hot? Basically, it's getting hot. A bit like me, actually. I don't know if you can see I'm sweating because it's now 29 degrees in here. Yeah, in fact, I might take this off. Two things will cause the heat. Number one, I'm spinning at 1500 RPM, and I am possibly trying to take too much wood away. If you take lighter cuts, it won't get as hot. But if you've got hard wood against your bevel, although I'm not rubbing the bevel that hard, it's still going to generate heat because you're going at 1500 RPM. But that's the way I like to turn. I would not normally use this to do this operation. I would normally use my half-inch bowl gouge, half-inch spindle gouge, or indeed you could use a 3/8 bowl gouge. But I think you'll find that Pete, Twisted Tree, who is one of my pit crew, uses his 3/8 for all this sort of thing. So that's hollowing,
Usually, yeah.
shaping and everything else, because it's the one tool that will do the job. But on occasions, and tonight is one of those, if you're not 100% on your game, you only need to be a little bit out on the height of your tool rest or the presentation of the tool to the wood, and you're going to have an unsmooth ride, let's put it that way.
Mike, we've had a uncharacteristically serious comment from Ed Oliver. He would like you, please, just to check the cracks in that cup.
Yes, okay, that's fine. They were CA'd, Ed, and the CA has gone right the way through. I'll just show you there. But thanks for the concern. The only good thing about this, I am out of the line of fire anyway. But if you can see on the outside, you can't even see the cracks. I did such a good job. Right, there are two cracks there. So if I move that around to there, and I've just blown it out, you can see that this CA has actually come through to here. So the integrity is pretty good, I think. Famous last words. But thanks for mentioning that, Ed. But that is a very valid point. Not that Ed ever turns rubbishy wood, but anyway, going back to that, yeah, the thing is, for the newer turner, be very wary of what you're turning. The wood is the integrity, always stay out the line of fire, obviously. And one of the things, again, not harping on it, about facing off the bowl blank, apart from giving you that sort of, as Mark so aptly put it, a clean canvas to start with, apart from that, it gives you an idea of any imperfections, any possible cracking, etc., in that wood from the face being cut back. So, and it also allows you, if it's an unstable piece, to increase the RPM. So that is the thinking behind facing off a bowl blank. On here, I did mention I thought that I had actually CA'd it, and I was quite happy with that. But yeah, a good point, Ed, and thanks very much for mentioning it, mate. I appreciate it. And I don't appreciate much of what Ed Oliver does ever or says, but there you go. Okay.
David Harrison is asking, is the ash from ash dieback tree any good for turning?
Yes.
Yes, it is, and it's very available, so go get some and turn it.
Yeah, it certainly is.
And Douglas Mungham is asking about a curve for a chainsaw big enough to take the pith out of a log. Yes, sometimes. It depends on the log, depends on the pith. You've got to look at it, and everyone's different. Pith isn't always in the middle either.
Now, did you see how I just put a fresh edge on there and pick up the cut, nice and easy. Right, so now we're going to take out the middle, the very middle now, because I'm not going to be going much further. I'm having to use the wing because I'm now down that far, which is about 2 inches, and it's starting to, because I've got a 45-degree on there, I can't keep the bevel rubbing as I'm going round the bottom of the goblet. So I'm basically cutting the middle here, or getting rid of the middle, unsupported. Which is not a hero move, it's just very, very light cuts, and having to improvise. Okay, we've got the shape. It sounds like the beginnings of a multi-car pile-up on the M1, doesn't it? That's better. Okay, so we are now, and another thing for the newer turner, don't put your fingers into the goblet while it's turning, because that can be dangerous. I'm just one of these feely people, unfortunately. Okay, now a little bit of a move away from what I said. In other words, a lie. I wasn't going to use anything other than the spindle gouge. Well, what I will do is, because I always do it when I turn a goblet, 9 times out of 10, I will just use the 35-35 negative rate scraper just to smooth up the surface and get rid of any tool marks. And as Ed will say, there's going to be plenty of those. This nice light cut needs to be a little bit higher. Just a tool rest. That's better. And the added advantage is if you have a little dimple or a little dish in the bottom, you're only taking away a very small amount of wood and it leaves a really, really nice surface. There you go. Okay, so the inside of the goblet essentially now is done. All it needs to be done is abrasion. So it is going to be a project. So I will give it a very swift abrasion. I'll start off with 180. And this isn't an advert for Simon Hope's Sate, but it's very good for this sort of a thing, for boxes and goblets. It comes in strips like this, and it means you can hang on to the end. I have to turn my extractor on now, so that's going to mess my microphone up. Or does it? Turn the RPMs down. Nice light pressure. Same pressure through each grit. And this again obviously is for the newer turner.
Ben's got a question for you. Mikey's asking, why did you leave the point on the scraper?
I'm sorry? Why did I what?
Leave the point on the scraper.
The point. Oh, I see. No particular reason. That was a half-inch. That was a half-inch scraper, and I am going around here, making it a radius. But I've never had an issue with the point. But I could actually go over there and make it rounded. But I never have done, to be honest with you. But yes, you could do. But it's an ideal thing for boxes. Simon Hope and other manufacturers make specific scrapers, negative rate scrapers, etc., and they are brilliant. But I've been using these for quite a lot of time now, and I tend to go to them, you know. But yeah, there's no specific reason for it. That's all I can say to that one. It might actually be better not to have the point on there, obviously. But
I find it useful for some things.
Yeah, the thing is, you see,
down the bottom of a box in that little transition angle. Sometimes that point can tidy that up.
Yeah, but the other thing with a point sometimes, Pete, is you've done you've got rid of everything. You've got rid of the nub, and then you put another divot in the bottom of the goblet because you engaged the point. So. A very valid point, actually, that if it was rounded, it wouldn't cause that problem. So I'm not going to be sanding to I was going to say the level I normally do, but I just can hear Ed Oliver dying to say something that people can actually hear, not write, about that you never finish anything very well anyway. But I'm not going to go right to the nth degree. I'm actually not. I've got a little tool mark there, but I'll carry on for a minute. You can talk amongst yourselves. And the big thing with sanding, obviously, some people enjoy it. I can't say that I'm over enamoured with it, but I do sometimes spend, especially on finials, and I keep saying if Cindy Droser does it, I'm quite happy to do it. I spend a long time sometimes just refining that sort of fraction of a millimetre to my eye to get it as I want it. And I don't think there's any shame in doing that.
I find that step between the 180 and the 240 to be very satisfying.
Yes, yeah.
Paddy Bahan's turned up, and Peter Sheed from South Africa's joined.
Hello to both of you, and welcome. I'm glad you've only just turned up, because you didn't see me have my little problem with the spindle coach. Right, so go quickly to 240. I get a lot of questions, and I think a lot of pro turners do as well. Is what can I do to stop burning my fingers when I'm sanding? Well, the simple answer is, if you're generating that much heat, you're pushing too hard, the lathe is going too quick, or you're not giving enough time in between sanding for things to cool down. The wood should never, noticeably, it's obviously going to get warm, but it should never heat up to a point where you can't hold it. And that goes for the sandpaper as well. So be mindful that if it's hot, you're pushing too hard. Let the wood come, like with the gouge, let the wood come onto the abrasive and let the abrasive give it a chance to do its job. Because heat is not your friend. And my 3/8 spindle gouge wasn't my friend earlier on. But I love him really. Okay.
I've got to say, folks, you can't see what I can see, but I can see the other member of the pit crew, who very sadly at the moment has a broken ankle. And
Oh,
is
yes.
in a temporary cast, and he's trying to scratch an itch with a ruler.
I have to come back to Face and say I apologise for not mentioning that one of my pit crew is physically disabled, temporarily broke his ankle. Please don't ask how we did it. I didn't, because I was afraid of the answer I'd get. But I'm sure we all wish Pete a speedy recovery and as much pain in between as possible. Okay.
Thank you very much.
That's my pleasure, my absolute pleasure. Okay, so I've sanded to 240. I'm now going to whack some sanding sealer on. I'm not saying we'll go through the whole process on every part, but I'll keep an eye on the time. And as long as it's under 6 hours, I think we can manage that. Okay.
Be short life.
Yeah, for me, yeah. No, it's... I haven't actually done a project to completion for a long time, ever. No, on a live. I'm putting this is pre-mixed sanding sealer as opposed to full strength. I find it works quite well because it's a little bit thinner. I don't know what the ratio is because Mr. Saban Smith keeps that to his chest, but close to his chest. But I always used to dilute mine 3:1. Because it gets into the fibres more readily and it absorbs into the wood. And especially with a wood like this, this hard ash, although it's quite wide-grained ash, one of the things with ash as well is that you can quite often, especially with a bowl, you can do it, and it's tactile because it has not lumps and bumps through bad turning or anything. It just has that natural sort of smooth ripple to it, and that's why I love working with ash. And although it can be, to the colourist, a very plain old wood. Now I leave that for a couple of minutes, so I'll go back to me and see if there are any questions and have a quick slurp of Diet Coke. Has everybody left me?
We're all still here.
We'll go back to the lads. Not enough Doom Bar, Dave. Oh, right, sorry. Doom Bar. Okay.
He says he was sober. Don't believe it. Rob says he heard that Pete owed you money, Mike.
Pete owed
didn't pay it on time.
It's most probably the other way around. Dave Nicol, what do you think the sanding? What do I thin the sanding sealer? I don't actually. The one I use now, I used to. It's a pre-thinned cellular sanding sealer from Hampshire Sheen here in the UK. As I explained, I used to use cellular sanding sealer, and I used to thin it down with cellulose thinners, and I used to use 3:1. But that's just a personal thing. There are some occasions, I have my little jar here with a little brush hot glued into the lid after drilling a hole. When I want to get into crevices, which I'll most probably, if I get that far with this goblet, making some details, then to get that sanding sealer in those sort of, for me, crisp details, doing it with a paper towel can be a pain and nigh on impossible in certain instances. So if you brush it on lightly, then it'll get into all those bits and bobs, all those bits and pieces that you can't get into easily with a paper towel. Okay, just give that another minute or two, or another, well, actually need a minute or two. No, I think we'll do it now. So again, I'm now going to give a an application of Yorkshire grit. Now, Yorkshire grit is not an essential ingredient in your finishing process. However, you noticed that I only sanded to 240. Reason for that is Yorkshire grit is an abrasive paste, and it will do the job of your abrasives after your 240 because it has pumice in it, ironstone, or rotten stone I should say, I'm sorry, and again the secret ingredients list. Basically what it does, it negates the need to sand anything higher than 240, and the big advantage of that is that obviously the higher grit that you sand, the finer the dust, and the need for good respiration and PPE. And when I'm doing a finishing job, especially on a demo, it's good to only have to sand to 240 because you don't have to get drowned out with the extractor, and I don't have to worry about not having my respirator on. Now with Yorkshire grit, some people say, oh, when I put the wax on top, I can't get the shine or whatever. You have to work Yorkshire grit in until it becomes completely glass-like and smooth, until all those little bits of abrasive have been reduced to nothing. So you start off with the lathe, well I do anyway, around 700 RPM on a goblet type thing like this. And you're using the same bit that you applied the Yorkshire grit with to begin with. And you just keep working it in, and then you can turn the speed up a bit. And one of the reasons, if you put it on a bowl, the reason to start on a low RPM, if you don't, you'll end up with a situation like Mr. Oliver and I had yesterday with paint going everywhere, but you have Yorkshire grit going everywhere. So that's the other reason for starting off slow.
John Wilburn's got a question. He said, what's the best finish so you can use your goblet?
I have never turned a goblet in one piece, so I've never known. No, I've never turned a goblet for use. It's only for ornament, an ornament. But I've heard that Plasticoat is very good as a waterproof sealer. I've even heard people say they use resin. What sort of resin? I'm not sure.
Epoxy resin or
epoxy
wipe on poly.
Yeah.
Or wipe on melamine finish as well.
I find glass is the best.
As you go.
Look at the wooden ones and use the glass one. Mine's vanished. You're right there, Mike.
Right, I'm back now. Yeah, it's okay. The compressor kicked in. I was using it this afternoon, and I thought it might kick in after a while, because it's only an entry-level one, so it hasn't got a massive tank on it. But I didn't expect it to quite give me a shock. Right, okay. Sorry, yeah, you're going through, Plasticoat, and I think Mark said epoxy resin. There are quite a few. What I would say is, I've been told that if you use red wine, virtually with any finish, it's got to stain it. But again, I can't speak from experience. I can from drink.
I tried red wine, and the goblet drank more than I did, so
yeah.
I've done it again.
Yeah, bad goblet.
Said, what about an acrylic lacquer? I'm not sure.
Well, I wouldn't like to drink from acrylic lacquer, although most finishes are sort of food safe, as it were, once they're fully cured.
I'm not sure acrylic lacquer would be completely permeable.
Actually, if whoever wants to do something like that, if you Google it, I think you'll find Plasticoat will come up, and there will be some other coatings from manufacturers that will be, I won't say they'll be waterproof, they'll be water resistant, I think is the key. Okay, so we've got to a stage on, and please keep asking the questions. And if I can't answer them, I'm sure my pit crew will. We got to a stage now where I'm still getting, I'm turning the speed up now to, 1300 RPM, and the object of the exercise now is to have no residue on your paper towel. Just keep working it in, and you can actually, there's a little bit there, I don't know if the camera picks it up, a little bit of brown there, not a problem, just get a fresh piece It's starting to feel a lot smoother now. And bearing in mind, it might take a couple of minutes more, but I've only sanded to 240.
Die Proud's joined. Hi, Die.
Hi, Di.
Hi,
Shamai, buddy. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. You missed the excitement. Well, there could be some more excitement now. I'm not going to be finishing the whole goblet, I don't think, because I do want to get onto the captive ring bit. And we're just over the hour now. But I just thought what I do with goblets normally, I always do the inside when I get to this stage, because I've got plenty of integrity, plenty of meat in the blank for the hollowing, and also for doing the inside, because then that's finished. Then I've just got to work on the outside. But what I would say to you, if you're doing a thin, long stem goblet, I don't mean long, I mean, just that sort of length, always try and finish the cup first, for that reason, because once you start to get the stem narrower, then obviously the end is going to be very unstable, and going back to the bowl of the goblet is not a good idea, in my humble opinion. I mean, I won't use a tennis ball now, but on anything longer than this, but I don't care. I don't have to prove I can do it. For safety reasons, like when you bring up the tailstock, when you're turning a bowl or whatever, keep your tailstock 2 points of contact for as long as you possibly can, and as soon as you can, with a goblet, apply some form of support on the end. But there are several ways of getting that support. Now you can see the towel is completely clean. It is a really smooth finish now, so the Yorkshire grit has done its job. So now I'll just apply some Hampshire sheen, and it could be any wax of your choice.
Andy H is returning, so having to drop out. See you later, Andy.
All the best, Andy. Take care, mate. Thanks very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Andy.
I appreciate you coming more than you do. Right, okay. So, again, with wax, less is more. So, I've just put a relatively small amount on. Work that in. And don't press too hard, because that's where you start to get lines. And something that I learnt off the fanatical finisher, Mr. Saban Smith, in the very beginning, is always work it to the outside. The same goes if this was a bowl. Okay, so we can leave that just for a second, and we can have a quick chat, and I can have a drink, and answer any questions you might have.
William Kenny's asking, is there anywhere in Southern Ireland to get Yorkshire grit?
Yes, there is.
I think they've got a supplier near Dublin.
They have, yes. There is a supplier in Dublin. I think it's, it is the man to ask Shay. The carpentry store has it, William.
Right.
Out of interest, Shay, if you can answer me, where is the carpentry store? What part of Ireland is it? Is it Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland? Right, I'm going to just nip off camera. I'm going to sharpen my spindle gouge.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about how you stabilise wood to make it waterproof for using a goblet. Bottom line is, all the options are effectively covering it in plastic in one form or another, and that kind of works. Yeah. You can also use the polymerizing oils for cold drinks. Danish oil will seal it enough.
Can I just butt in there?
But tongue-based Danish, not a linseed oil-based Danish.
But you must allow it to cure, not just dry.
It must cure.
It must cure.
Yeah.
And depending on your temperature and humidity, etc., that can be quite a different time frame.
A week or more would be on the safe side.
Yes, without a shadow. I've also heard people use CA glue, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So, you know.
It's plastic, isn't it? Same thing.
Yeah, once it's cured, not dry. Just because it doesn't fly off when you turn the lathe on doesn't mean to say it's completely cured. Just outside Dublin. Thanks, Shay. Exit 10. That's can't be more detailed than that. Thank you. So there's your answer, guys. Now, with any wax, whether it's Hampshire Sheen or Wood Wax 22 or whatever you use, give it time to give it a couple of minutes before you start to burnish it. I'll just give it another minute or more, and then although it shouldn't be too bad in here because it's now gone up to, oh, it's gone down a bit now, 26.5 degrees. It's still sweaty though. Yeah, it's not one of those things I've really got involved in doing goblets for use, you know. Basically, as I say before, Ed Oliver, if he's still here, would say, is because very few of them have stands attached to the bowls. Wayne said something this afternoon in a comment on me putting that goblet up, and I was saying about colour. Stuart Farini said, "Oh, you know, there's something missing," meaning colour, obviously. And then Wayne had the cheek to turn around and said, "What's missing is the gap in between the base and the bowl." And I thought about it for about a second, and what he meant was there shouldn't have been a stem, because most of my goblets always detach themselves, and I was really quite hurt by that, as you can see. Right. Lawrence Ross, I'm making some beer tankards. Right? I wonder how to finish the inside, so a similar topic would be Hampshire Sheen. No. It would be safe because it's food safe, but I can say without fear of contradiction that a wax like that, a hard wax might, is it Osmo? Is that Osmo oil?
Yeah, Osmo do a hard,
yeah,
hard
that's
wax.
a hard wax.
And Chestnut do them as well, I think.
Yeah, but Hampshire Sheen, no. In my opinion, I might be totally wrong, but I don't think so. Oh, smiley faces from Ed. I wonder why. Has he ever said anything funny? I don't think so. A few ripping yarns we had yesterday, let me tell you. And some of the yarns, his nose ended up about 3 foot. Pinocchio. Right, Steve Ashler, CA glue takes up to 24 hours. No, it doesn't. With respect, Steve, to fully cure, it might fully harden, but it takes longer than a day to cure, completely cure, before you can use something on it. I was told, I might be wrong.
When we are talking about something curing, whether it's oil or plastic of any sort, we're talking about all of the solvent chemicals within it coming out, leaving just the hardened product behind. So even after it's gone solid, it still hasn't cured.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Mark. Mark's put the link up for the carpentry store in Ireland. And can I ignore that comment by my good friend, my ex-good friend, Cunning Stunts, aka Graham Light? Ah, what about the fabled You Kiss Goblet? Well, yeah, that's okay. You can mention that. And in fact, yeah, okay, yeah. I've got nothing to say.
You do one flying goblet.
Yeah, exactly.
One flying goblet.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Never gets forgotten.
You perfected it.
It's exactly the same as I was saying to Mr. Oliver yesterday, as him and Mr. Clark were taking the mick out of the Welsh. I said, if you worry one sheep in your youth, it sticks with you for the rest of your life. And that's fair enough. You know, and it's the same with the goblet, you know. Same with the goblet. But the thing is, it's knowing what you did wrong. I think that excuse is really running a bit thin now. On that note, I'm changing to the camcorder, and I'm going to buff up this Hampshire Sheen. Okay, so a fresh bit of paper towel, and get a nice speed on the lathe. You don't want too much pressure, otherwise you start to create lines. 1450 RPM, and just light pressure, and just get that finish. I would actually, on a normal situation, I would leave it I'd leave it 5 or 10 minutes till it's really ready for buffing. But I think you can see there quite a nice sheen. And you can feel it as well. It's nice and smooth and slippery, as it were. So it's done its job. And you can overcoat that as you can with any wax, you know, with a microcrystalline, and that'll prevent finger marks showing as easily as without. Now, the next thing is to work out what we're going to do with the rest of the goblet. And we're not going to colour the inside, that's for sure, because we've got wax on there. We're not going to cover the outside either. Never mind. Right, okay. So I'm going to get the outside of the bowl a little bit thinner. We're not going for a thin, long stem goblet. I want something a little bit meaty. So just rub the bevel and pick up the cut. Just take a nice light shaving and follow it down the goblet, and don't come off the cut like I did. Pick up the cut again and just move down the goblet bowl, and then get ready. Move your body, lift the handle, rub that bevel and lift, go towards the middle. Now there's two ways of getting rid of that little boy there. You can just do a little bit of this, which is cheating. A little bit of shear scraping there, just for the bottom wing. And then a little bump there, so rub the bevel. Use the bevel as a guide and move down the goblet.
Brad wood turning has joined us.
Lift the handle, lift the handle, lift the handle, and twist, and you're there. So that's the basic shape. Now, although it's bouncing a little bit on the old CA, but never mind, we'll forget that. So now I want to get rid of wood again. Again, as I keep saying, I would be using a 1/2 inch spindle gouge or a 3/8 bowl gouge for doing this. Purely and simply because it's more stable and it gets rid of the wood quicker. Moving my body to get the left wing working. Now we have to bear in mind that we've got to do a couple of captive rings as well. And the way things are going tonight, I'm not looking forward to doing that with a spindle gouge, but hey ho.
It doesn't matter, captive rings are just silly anyway.
They're purely aesthetic. They're of absolutely no, a bit like my goblets. They're no use at all. Mind you, they're not even aesthetically pleasing. All I'm doing now is looking and sort of weighing up whether I like what I see, whether I want to alter anything drastically, possibly. I assure you, if I was doing this for a few customers that I might have had in the past, I would spend a lot more time on it. Another thing, funny enough.
Overhead, Mike.
Oh, yep, sure.
Wayne the woodturner's having to pop out. He's got a premiere in 30 minutes.
Okay. See you, Wayne. Thanks for popping in. Have a good premiere. You might want to put the link in for that, okay, Mark, as well. Let these poor people here have something interesting to watch. Okay, so I've just refined that a bit, but we'll be sanding that anyway, or would be sanding it, so it's not a problem. Now, again, you can see the reason why I've got to use my 1/2 inch spindle gouge just to show you how much easier and how much more and how much bigger your skid is. Okay, concentrate. You can get a lot more wood away with a more stable tool. Of that there is no doubt. So, how big do we want the rings? Right, let's go here. Thank you. That's better. See, that was going from the 3/8 spindle gouge. I needed to lower my tool rest a bit because this has a bigger profile, obviously.
Mark Bade has come in, Mike.
Who, sorry?
Mark Bade.
Oh, Mark. Hello, Mark, and welcome. My old mate, Mark Bade. So what I'm doing here is, this is where the goblet can fly off, obviously. I'm producing a little detail for the goblet to sort of, the bowl separating a little bit of a detail, and what I want to do there is to bring that down to the diameter of whatever I decide is going to be the stem. Just to give you an idea, I'll just undercut this and give it a nice curve. I don't want to go in too much because I want the stability, a little bit of stability there, but you can see the way I'm going, that will then blend into the stem. Now, the reason I've got this at this level is for my sanding of the rings. So I say, we won't get through it all, but how do you sand the inside of your rings? Well, the way you do it is you tape a little bit of sandpaper to a part of the stem, which would be that, and then you turn down the lathe, and I'll show you. I won't complete the whole process, but I will show you. Okay, so we want to make the ring a proportionate ring, otherwise what's going to happen, that's why you should always turn your lathe off before you move your tool rest, you want it not to obviously fall off your base. So what we need to do is to reduce this part here just a bit, and bit more, and a bit more. Okay, we're going to get one ring from there. So what we need to do now is to decide how far down we're going to go for the base. I've got a part off and the base, so let's say here. So this part I could use for making the captive rings. So again, I get a thin parting tool. I know it was all the actual ring itself will be freed with a with the spindle gouge. Okay, so let's just get the shape of the little thin rings, because it's ash. Now what I'm doing here is deciding how large, if you like, I want the ring, because I'm just looking for a tool, I can't find it, because that will then dictate where you start to take away the inside of the ring. Okay, now you need enough room to be able to work your tool, so what we can do there is just taper this down. Just enough to allow my spindle gouge to work on this side. So that's going to be it. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is to shape the ring just very roughly. And the big thing to remember is that you don't want to part it off completely, because you want to sand as much of it as you can. This is going to be a very thin ring, but it doesn't matter. Now the good thing with captive rings is that if you mess it up, that it doesn't matter, because you've got wood to make others.
Good tip is, if you want 2 captive rings, then make 3.
Yeah.
Break off the one that doesn't match.
But this is going to dictate. There's a flat spot there, not a problem, because that will come away anyway. Okay, that will sand out anyhow. So how do I use it? Well, this is a 30 degree bevel with a 15 degree relief there. But I tried it this afternoon. I've never done it this way before, and it worked okay, but it's a little bit rough. But what you need to do is to get a point in to meet on both sides.
Just important that you give yourself clearance.
Exactly.
On the headstock side, isn't it?
Yeah. And it works quite well. I was doing this left-handed actually, and I don't turn left-handed. Now, obviously that's not by any means finished, but I should start to sand just here. I'll just use a bit of 240 for now. What you should do on that ring is literally just give it a bit of a sand to profile, and you would sand the sides as well, because this method is not such a clean cut. You're left with quite a big burr inside, which is not a problem because you can sand that off when you're sanding the inside of the ring. All you want to try and do is just get a rounded effect there. This is rather a thin one anyway, but you know, doesn't matter. We'll have 2 thin rings, or maybe even 1 if time doesn't allow.
Ed is casting dispersions.
What's he saying?
He says your spindle gouge has not been working all night.
Thank you.
Laughing faces.
Yeah. You don't get away with just laughing faces, mate, let me tell you. Damage is done.
I was thinking that, but I was thinking, yeah, strange after a lesson with Ed yesterday.
Yeah, I was fine until I came down, Ed. Right, okay, so again, in with the point and rubbing the bottom wing, and it's just a case, I will do it left-handed, and it's just a case of going in and trying to get as even as you can on both sides until it releases.
What you want to try and do, Mike, is just imagine that Ed stood there beside you watching you.
That is too frightening a thought, I'm afraid, Mark. I did have nightmares last night. I did have nightmares. My wife kept saying I was waking up in a cold sweat. And it's purely because of Mr. Oliver. Now you can use a skew chisel for this as well. Now you can can hear it. It's very close now, and there's no need to rush it. And you don't want to put too much pressure on, because if you do, especially with a little thin ring like this, it'll split. There we go. And there he comes, he pops off. Now, I know it's thin, but I'm not bothered about that. In actual fact, it's a good thing it's thin, because it proves it can be done thin. Now, you can see, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, there is a bit of a ridge there, which is a normal thing, even if you're cutting it off with a captive ring tool. So, there is the one.
As suggested, it's far easier to just snap the stem and put a couple of rings on and stick it back together as normal.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Yeah. It's a bit actually. It's a bit like that goblet, isn't it? I mean, it was much easier to do what I did, snap it off and stick it back together and put a pin in it, than actually turn it as a off-center goblet. But Ed's right. That is a very good idea, Ed, and I would expect nothing less from somebody like you, to be honest with you. Okay, so again, sanding the inside. There are two ways of doing it. We'll just use the 240 for now. I'm just trying to show the method, if you like, for the newer turner. And I won't use this on this very much. I won't use this on this very much because obviously, change camera again, purely and simply because it's a thin, very thin. You can use this method by leafing in and literally going from side to side, holding it and going from side to side to smooth off the inside. But obviously on a delicate ring like this, I have done rings like this before and meant to do it as well. You get the abrasive, and I'll actually show it to you. Get a bit of masking tape. I could have done with a bit more there actually, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. And let's just on there and put it around here, and you just want to just tack it with a little bit of masking tape. Dexterity, as you all know, turning and dexterity are not my forte. Okay.
I find another way of doing this, Mike, which I find easier. If you lay down a strip of double-sided tape to the back of the sandpaper, peel off the backing, and then just stick the sandpaper to the stem with the double-sided tape.
Yeah, you can do that as well. There are many ways of skinning this cat, and then basically, oh God, do you know what? Tonight, I was saying to my good lady tonight, I've got a feeling tonight's not going to go well. Because I was so traumatized by yesterday, I just feel that it's not.
Ed Oliver, what have you done to our boss?
Yeah. Okay, I know what I did wrong. Number one. Okay, that's what you need. You need it all the way around, and you should really do it the other way, otherwise it'll come undone. All you want to do is somehow, the stem should be longer actually for me to do this, but never mind. So we put that on there. Yeah, look, I only got the strength to break that. Right, let's go to the scissors. This live is very reminiscent of my UKISS, the first UKISS. But you know what? I don't care. As long as people laugh about it, that's all that matters. See, that's the other thing I should have done. No, I can't see them. Right, okay. So, we stick
Simon
that
says
to
it's
there.
okay, Mike, we're laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah, that's what happened at UKISS. So they said. I didn't believe them, but there you go. Right, so then you literally move it like so, and then you tape it down properly with a long piece, and I'm not going to do it because I don't have to, because I know what I'm doing. Okay, you tape it down. I'll tell you what we'll do, just to prove it. Let's get rid of that. Get the tool rest up. and make that stem the right length, and then I can show you, because otherwise you might think I was telling porkies. I tell you what, that should go there and stay there. See, even the captive ring won't behave itself.
They say captive rings are silly, didn't they?
Yeah, I've never seen the point of them, actually. I just think they're, it's just a bit of look what I can do. Or in my case, look what I can't do. But yeah. Okay, so, and yes, you could use a bit of double-sided sticky tape, I quite agree. If I did more of them, I think the last one I did of these was for Maker Central. So that would be 2018. And doesn't it show?
Simon suggested you could also CA glue it on, or whatever.
CA glue it on. I tell you what,
anyway,
the way I'm going, Simon, I'll be stapling the damn thing on in a minute. Okay, the key is to get it stuck down on both sides, obviously, which I will do. I actually, when I'm doing this on my own, I'm not bothered how long it takes, so I know I'm not the most dexterous person in the world. Let's do it the right way. But when you're doing something fiddly like this, your lack of dexterity really does show, doesn't it? Shines. Arthritis is the problem. Never mind.
We're turning by Barry's got a good idea. He says he uses 2 elastic bands.
Yeah, it's a very good idea. I'll tell you one thing that I can't stand is clever buggers. I really can't. Barry. Look, I've taped the ring in now. Look. Oh, God. Do you know what? I think this is going to go down as one of the, if not funniest, one of the worst live demos ever. Well, of course, the ring won't go over there, idiot, because you've got the tape stuck there. Right, we've got one more go, guys and gals, and then I'm going in for a hot shower. Right. It does work, honestly. Please believe me. I don't lie. Right, now, what I'm going to do is, because I've got not enough of this...
Jay says 10-1 the captive ring wins.
It won't, Jay, I'm telling you. I mean, this one might, but they won't. And that, look, that is what you do, okay? And I'm very wary because it is a very thin captive ring. And you just work your way around the inside like that after doing a proper job with the tape and the sandpaper. And I promise you that you will get a nice, and rock it back and forth to get that profile, and you will get a nice inside to your captive ring. Because there's one thing that really does spoil a captive ring, is having that bevel inside where it was cut off. You can see it as the cut off. Now, I don't know if the camera picks up, just a little bit of sand in there has just shown that it does work. It's starting to round over on the inside. So that is the method that we would use for that. Convincing? Not really. One thing I would say is actually, if the captive rings are bigger, the elastic band idea is a good idea as well. Put an elastic band there, and then because you've got your tail still got the support and your live center in there with a tennis ball or whatever, you can then wrap that round, and that keeps the captive ring out of harm's way. The other way is to tape it. Just tape it down. But it's not going to work on this one. Okay, so that's the captive ring method with a spindle gouge. Not ideal. I still prefer, is the word, I think, using a captive ring tool because it's easier. And we're using the wrong one. So I'm going back to the 3/8 spindle gouge now. Now the problem is we got this ring is going to be in the way. So if it was a thicker ring, as I say, you could get rubber bands, put it onto you, but I'm not bringing up the tailstock. So what I'll do is just blow off any dust and hopefully tie it. Whoops, see, look, you can get the tape in the wrong way. And tape it to the goblet. Actually, whoever it was said that about the captive ring, I'm almost wishing this one would break so I can turn another one. Okay, and then just to make sure he doesn't go anywhere. And always put the tape away from you, because then it won't unravel, unless you want to turn in reverse. Okay, so the next thing would be to carry on the shaping and turn the speed up a bit. Again, I'm back to the 3/8 spindle gouge, whereas normally, oh, let's get a bit of light there, whereas normally I would be using the 1/2 inch. Trying to take too much wood away. Drop the tool rest ever so slightly. Now I'm not sure how long I want this. So as I'm going down the stem at the bottom here, I'm keeping a basic shape for the base. And I'm going to go back to the 1/2 inch. I'm keeping the same shape as I want for the base as I'm taking wood away. Do you know what? This is really annoying. Come on, sort your life out, man. That's better. So whatever length I want, I've got the basic shape of the base. So now we should go back to the 3/8 because that's what I said we'd be using. I could use that. I would normally know once I've got this part done, I would go to the skew. But I can use the left wing of the gouge just to get that shape that I'm looking for. A transition from the base of the cup to the actual stem. I'll take a bit more wood away here. Now here, as I say, I would normally, for doing this, I would use the skew. My little 1/2 inch skew fits in there nicely and not only gets rid of a nice bit of wood, it also leaves a very good surface. But if I'm careful and slow, I'll get the same thing with the spindle gouge, using the wing the same as I would a skew.
For any new turners that are watching,
Sorry?
this is getting towards the edge of usable overhang of a 3/8 spindle gouge, so it's
Yes.
quite difficult to use it at this overhang.
Yeah. The reason for doing it is to say what you can do with the 3/8 spindle gouge, and I have said several times for good reason, I would normally use my 1/2 inch spindle gouge, this chappy here, because it's got thicker stock and it's more stable. But basically what it is, what I'm trying to show is that with care, you can use, there is a limit to what the 3/8 spindle gouge is capable of doing safely, and it's not built for stock removal, great big lumps of stock removal. I'm taking a very light cut now, and it's not a problem. But if you want to move stock, it takes too much time. But again, the other thing to think about is that if you've got that one tool in your hand, do you actually save that much time making 3 less passes with a thicker tool, or keeping this in your hand, taking smaller passes, going slower, and getting a better finish?
That's it.
Only you can answer that.
It's doing some detail work, and then you want to take off a little bit of stock and so on. Tool in your hand does the job.
I'll just show you what I mean with the now with a longer one, longer stem, once you get to a situation where you want minimal sanding, if you use a skew, you can support, obviously wouldn't need to on here, you can support underneath as you can put pressure down on your skew, and you would lower the tool rest a little bit, and you can put downward pressure on your skew and support from behind. You don't need to do it here because it's a thick stem. But if it was a quarter of that, then it's got to be flexing. Now, even if you've got support with either your table tennis ball or whatever you use to support the end, there are ways of pulling away so you're not compressing either, which is also a good way of doing it, where you actually pull back to the tailstock so that you're alleviating the pressure from the stem. But as I say on here, there is no need. And the other thing, I would use a smaller tool rest, obviously, and the stem would be longer, so I'd be closer to the work as well, which is obviously an advantage as well. But you can see what I mean. It does the job very admirably, and you just work your way down the stem. And if I stop there, you can see there's a very good finish there compared to what I would get with the gouge. So that's just the methodology of that that's why I would use the skew in most instances for that. So we just carry on with this and just nice and lightly using the right wing. And you need to blend that into the stem, pick up the cut. And that's not too shabby. It's very thick, obviously, but that's not the point of the exercise. And go down further than that. And then, obviously, you would sand up, bearing in mind that you'd already sanded your captive ring unless it breaks when I take it off here, which is very lightly.
Masking tape is not your friend.
No, it's not tonight. It's not tonight. It's not an excuse. It's a reason. I can't feel the end of these three fingers anyway. So there. I mean, okay. It is not a beautiful goblet by any means, but it's gone through the process of it, and you can detach, albeit a very thin captive ring. But nevertheless, if you took 2 of those off, and I would have done 2 had I not had such problems with the masking tape, it will show you that that sort of size ring is nice for that size goblet. And then what you can do, you have another one going there. And the other thing as well is with the captive rings, you can, and I haven't done it myself, but you can do it. Ed Oliver, as a joke, mentioned about just cutting the goblet and sticking the rings on. If you've got a spalted wood that is fairly stable and not too punky, you can actually get the rings to interlock. How can you do that? You turn two captive rings, and then along a spalting line you very carefully cut, and then you bend that one ring, slot the other ring in, and then simply glue it back together. And because it's on a spalting line, providing it's not a punky spalted line, you cannot see the join. And I've seen one, and I was, when I thought, hang on, my head couldn't get round it, I thought, oh, how the heck did they do that? And the guy said, think about it. And I said, you cut one of the rings? He said, yeah. So I have tried it. I tried it on a plain wood, and you could see the join, obviously, because it was ash or something, I suppose. And it does work. And it's so on a spalted piece, it'd be quite effective. So you can do that. You can do that as well. So I think that's it, guys. So we're ready for any questions. I apologise for the oopies today, but I'm not that I'm ever 100%. I'm not 100% today. I'm not on my game, as they say. But nevertheless, as they say, the show must go on, must bore people for as long as possible. So I'll get the guys back up now, and if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy. Can you do each ring in a separate colour?
Can you do each ring in a separate colour?
Look, I'm getting fed up with this colouring rubbish. Right, okay. Right, here we are. This is Stuart Farini, Ed Oliver, Martin Stephenson. Here we are. And here we are, guys. Here we've got a perfectly lovely bit of wood. Look, here it is. I'm not going to bother. Look. And now, that perfectly lovely bit of wood, look at that. Look how it brings out the features. And look, the ring is two-tone as well. How do you think of that then, guys? It is art, I tell you. And I tell you what is art about this, is I haven't got any on me yet, unlike when I was with Ed Oliver. So, eat your art out, guys. You don't need a lathe to colour. It's not essential. You can colour by hand. Look at that. Look at the way. Look at the way that the colour melds into the wood. How it seamlessly just blends in with that stem. I mean, it's it's phenomenal. And always wear PPE when spraying, guys. Yeah, you should be so lucky. But
Stuart loves your aerosol dance.
Yeah, well, it's. In actual fact, I was going to get into a colour in a big way, so I bought these things which you slot. They're very good actually for anything you're spraying, and you slot them on and you've got really good control. And I got that idea from Stuart Farini because he used it. I got 3 of them and I've never used them on a bit of wood. And of course, if you, like most colourists will say, if you want to, during a demo, when you're actually wanting the paint to dry, you take a similar product to Mrs. Oliver's hairdryer, or if you're a proper wood turner, you've got a proper heat gun, and you heat the paint. But not too much, because if you do, it'll ruin it. And then
Stuart is suggesting that you've just doubled its value now, Mike.
Yeah. I haven't finished with it yet. And notice as well that you can also turn the goblet upside down with this method, and the ring will stick to the base until it falls off. But, all these things, these colourists just get on with it. We don't mess about, So, just again, methodology. If you're in the middle of a demo and you're doing painting and you're doing colouring and you want things to dry a little bit quicker, you can always use a source of heat. Not a flame, but a gentle source of heat. And the problem with guys like Stuart and Ed and Wayne and all these people who do colour, they don't explain these things to you. It's sort of a big mystique, this colour thing, they're just very lucky people, because the designs that they come up with is sheer fluke. It's absolutely no skill or expertise or practice for hours and hours, weeks and months and years to get to the results they get. If it looks good, we'll say that it's a bit like looking at a piece of art by an abstract painter. You can see what you like in it, and it's exactly the same with that colour.
Oh, you're in so much trouble.
All right. I mean, look, let me just ask you this question, ladies and gentlemen. What would you prefer? Did I show you that? I think I did, didn't I? You see, look, let's be honest. What would you prefer? That or that? I mean, that's a piece of art. And it's three-dimensional because it's got two bits on it, look.
I'll tell you what, Mike, as a colourist, you make a great bricklayer.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Pit crew. Just can't get the pit. You just can't get the pit crew nowadays. You just can't get the pit crew. Oh, and of course, the other thing you need to do after you've done that, you need to sand it back a bit so you can add another colour. I mean, that black is only a base colour, as I was showing. I mean, would you believe that Mr. Oliver's yesterday, this actually started off with me painting, and Ed painted a coat of black. Now, I can't understand the rationale behind that. There's not an ounce of black in it. A base coat, I can agree. But look at those horrible colours. And, I mean, anyway.
It got a bit carried away, that's all.
Carried away. That is the understatement of the year. But no, I on a serious note, I have the utmost respect for guys who do colouring. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's just not something I've got into. I was going to say I prefer to turn goblets, but after tonight, I think I'm going to start back on oliforms and goblets. In actual fact, this goblet, I've had enough. I've had enough of this. I'm not taking it any further. I'm going to please Wayne, okay? What we're going to do, we're going to have what Wayne the wood turner called. I can't get through it. Excuse me.
That's it.
I'll tell you what, this ash is hard stuff. I'm sorry, and this can actually be the last live I do as well, because I've had enough now. I'm not messing around. I'm dead serious. I'm embarrassed. I'm upset. I've coloured. I've had enough,
because you're such a good wood turner. And you've created the stem so strong.
Yes, I've actually done it, and yes, the captive ring broke as well. But look what I've got there. A lidded box. I mean, look, let's be honest. Look at that fit. Absolutely superb. And, of course, it's good. And half a captive ring, which looks like a full captive ring. I mean, look at that. Is that nice? And can you see how the colour separates from there? And no masking tape was used in that. Because, as you know, I can't use. Okay, so... Ed, Wayne, the wood turner, your comment has been fulfilled. Right. Okay.
Hey, people are just cracking up. They just think that's hilarious.
I'm happy now. I'm a happy chappy now. Oh, and the other thing, multi-purpose. This piece of art. When I turned this goblet, I had no idea, but you could use it to cover up your crisps as well. Look at that. I mean, it is. No, I'm sorry. I know it's difficult to grasp hold of when you've got somebody like me who's a bit off the wall with my art, But I like to think outside the box.
Oh God, he's an artist now.
Yeah. There's only one artist I was. I can't say that word on here. Well, I've enjoyed.
Forget, folks, if you like what Mike's done tonight, then it's been very
sorry,
different.
Forget buying me a coffee, lads. Please, everybody, send me your email address, and I'll buy you a coffee for sitting here. All right. One question.
Coffee. He obviously needs the caffeine.
Is there anybody left? Oh God, there's 138 of you. Well, I don't know. It does go to prove the quality of my subscribers. No. What I would like to say is, on a serious note, if there is such a thing tonight, I mean, I've gone a bit doolally. I think it's the drugs, I haven't had any for a while. No, I think I'd like to have some idea of what you'd like me to do, to be honest with you. And don't say knitting or go sailing for a year or something. Um, I had no idea what I was going to do today until this morning, and I like to prepare things, as you can see. And even a simple thing like a goblet, if you haven't done one for a while, you just need to get everything right. And but so what I'd like to know is what you'd like me to do. The question and answer thing obviously only goes to a certain extent. I can turn a bowl, sort of. I can go through bowls or whatever, but there's bowls, goblets, boxes, and for a demo like this, that's the only thing you can do, really. Unless you're a pro and you do the same thing all the time, and you can do that in the time scale. Or you're Wayne the wood turner who can turn a bowl and colour it and finish it and sand it and sell it in an hour. That's fine. But I'm not that sort of person, unfortunately. But let me know what you want. So what I'll do on my YouTube channel, I can do a poll. You can't do it on here, but I'll do a poll on there, and not a poll as such. Just give me an idea of what you'd like on the next one. It'll be a couple of weeks anyway, because I'm unfortunately working next Sunday, so it'll be at least 2 weeks before I do another live. You'll be pleased to hear. Give you a bit of a break.
Oh no! What a shame.
Oh, flipping heck! Oh.
I gotta say, in all seriousness, Mike, all the turners that are watching have had days like this.
Yeah, but
and you've had a bad night. We've all had them.
I take that too. I take exception to that, Pete. That was good for me. That was good for me. No, listen.
No, we've seen you on good nights. We know this one wasn't a good one. We've all had them, and we're enjoying the fact that you're doing what humans do out here, Yeah,
thank you. But on a serious note, for those of you that are left, I mean, I honestly, and I genuinely mean this, I thoroughly enjoyed tonight. I don't care is not the word. It's nice when it goes right, but I'd like to meet the person, even the pro. I mean, their level of a bad day is a peak that most of us will never reach, but you do get good days and bad days. In normal circumstances, when you're on your own, something just isn't right and you stop. At least, when you haven't got cameras on you, it's not an excuse, it's a reason. Time is not a problem. You haven't got loads of people watching you. If you're doing a one-to-one teaching and something goes wrong, it doesn't matter because you can tell them what's going on. You can take time to explain. But if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. But the main thing is that you know what you're doing wrong so you can put it right. Okay, and when you're on your own, you can just fiddle around, walk down the garden, have a drag, or do what you like, But we all have them, and especially the newer turner, they tend to think that when they see other turners who have got a lot of experience or have experience, especially in videos, because don't forget we edit videos. Some of us idiots leave all the bloopers in, otherwise there'd be no footage. But you keep those things in because that's what happens. If you play whatever craft, whatever game you're playing, practice makes better. And when someone says to you, "Cool, that was lucky," yeah, I get luckier the more I practice, and that's true. I actually have noticed, on a serious note, when I was on furlough, I was spending a lot more time behind the lathe, a lot of time learning the technology of doing these lives and everything. But I was coming in here doing this and just practicing and doing that because I had time on my hands, as it were. And my turning was a lot easier for me because I was doing it virtually every day. Not for hours and hours and hours, but I was spending a good proportion of time in. Normally, I don't spend enough time practicing. It's doing a video, doing a live, whatever. And I've got a life like we all have. You've got, real life to run. And that's why I blame Ed Oliver again. If I hadn't gone on to Ed's yesterday, I could have done a bit of practice yesterday, you see, before today. So you'd have had a better quality demo. So here again, it's down to Ed Oliver. And I know he's most probably gone now, but I hope his ears are burning.
No, he's still there being rude.
Is he? Oh, good. That's wonderful. Totally agree. But again, someone said, even when I've had good demos, I say this, and they're few and far between. No, when you don't learn from perfect. So a new turner is not going to learn by watching a turner do a perfect job, unless he's explaining what he's doing and explains what happens if he doesn't do it. And the best demonstrators, in my opinion, the best pro demonstrators, people like Les Thorne, people like Stuart Batty, and even the indomitable Ed Oliver, because he has bad days as well, but he knows why he has a bad day and he explains it. So that's almost like getting it wrong all the time if you want, but as long as you know why he's made that mistake. And you as a beginner can turn around and say, well, if he can do it, when I do it, I don't feel so bad. And that's good, because it doesn't put you off the craft. That's why a lot of people like me, because they look at me and think, by God, I'm not as bad as him. And, there's hope for me yet. That's fine by me. As long as people start using the craft and wood turning and enjoying it, that's all that matters. But no, on a serious note, that's what's important. Sod it whether you enjoy it or not. Don't change, Mike. This is right. No, cunning stunts don't change, because if I start changing, it'll make you all feel really inferior, wouldn't it? If everything perfect every time. I'm working on a way. I'm having a word with YouTube and Google, actually. There's got to be a way for me. It's going to cost me a lot of money, of actually doing an edited live, but it doesn't look like an edited live. You know what I mean? Bit difficult to get your head round. I'll have to talk to Peter Mark about that. How we're going to do that. Everything's going to be pre-recorded, edited, and stuck out. And all we're going to be doing is answering the chat.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, it's not a problem. But I must say one thing. Everybody that's left, and the guys that have been and gone as well, ladies and gentlemen, I really do appreciate your support over the years, and especially now, because don't forget, furlough is now finished. Well, for most of us anyway. So a lot of people are back to not normality, but relative normality compared to what the last the last year or so has been. So, people are actually able to do things apart from sit in front of a screen and watch YouTube, which is great. I'm not knocking that, believe me. And I'm amazed that I had so many people here tonight, because, it does my heart good, obviously, and gives you the impetus to carry on. And doing things like I did with Ed, and when I yesterday, when I did that one with Martin a while ago, we did that sort of double live. All those things bring one or two people into the craft, and it's good. And meeting people like Pete and Mark, who give of their valuable time to help people out like me and many others on their lives, and act as earworms, and all the other earworms out there as well. Brilliant. But 18 months ago, what's an earworm? What's Zoom? What's OBS? What's a live stream? We've come on in leaps and bounds as an industry, as a craft, if you like, in the way that we can get stuff out to people in a live situation. And I mean, you can see people from the States, from Canada, that you never see, and you can see them live. You pay a pitiful amount, really, considering the equipment, the cost of the equipment to get that out there, and the quality, like Cindy Droster's quality of her demos is fantastic. Pat Carroll, but it costs money, and even a meager setup like mine has cost quite a bit of money. I'm not moaning about it, because you either do it or you don't get involved, and it kept me sane as well. So, but yeah, things have moved on a lot, haven't they?
Yeah.
All right, gentle turn, Martin. Gentle turn, Martin. My mate Martin has said, "Constant perfection is boring." Full stop. I wouldn't know, Martin. It's never happened. To me, it's a wonderful statement, and I totally agree with you. But I mean, I've seen really hard-nosed pros messing up, but the reason they do it, the reason it's not a problem, is because they explain why, and they don't get flummoxed by it, which is good. It's all good. Nigel, I want to see Mrs. Wald having a go on the lathe. I tell you what, Nigel, there is more chance of flying to the moon and back on a tractor. She's got as much, as she often says, I'd rather stick red hot knitting needles in my eyes than get involved in wood turning. I think what she means is she'd rather stick the red hot knitting needles in my eyes, but nevertheless, it gives you some idea. Mike, things happen. It was an experience. Thank you. Oh, pleasure, Douglas, and thanks for coming, mate. It really, yes, I agree. It's an experience. It doesn't faze me. I think it might have fazed me 10 years ago, but not now, because it's happened too often. Hello, Tick Magnet. Ed Shaper. Good evening, Ed, and welcome. You just missed a wonderful display of something, but nevertheless, different way to part off then, Buster West. Yes, Buster. Yeah, you're right there, Brian. That was just, I was just infuriated. I was infuriated and upset, as you could see. Not.
These things happen.
Will you stop saying that, Pete? It's going to happen next time as well. I don't. Do you know what? And this is not bravado. If it does, it does, lads. I do not mind. I do not mind. I say it's nice, a nice, large lidded bowl, Mike. Yeah, I agree, Douglas. Yeah, I agree. Just give another side to that wonderful lidded bowl. It's actually for very dainty pieces of cheese in there, and then you put your biscuits around the outside, and that's for all the Stilton liquid from Camembert, etc., to run. See. But the other thing, if you want your cheese to breathe, you use the base, because there's a spacer there, you see, which allows the cheese to breathe. Okay. So multi-use. Do you know, as I'm doing that, I'm thinking to myself, you've completely lost it, Michael. You really have. You've completely. Yeah.
You need to clear.
Oh, did Ed?
The fumes out of that workshop.
I think. Cheers, Ed. All the best, mate. Thanks very much for coming, and thank you even more for going, my friend. You take care. Do a trembler, Rob. I do a trembler every time we come on here. A knee trembler. No. Yeah. Do you know what? I heard somewhere, Rob, that you were doing one live. Is that correct? That's what I need to watch, because I need to know how to do that.
That's true, Rob. Ruby Claire wants you to do a trembler. She's told me.
There you go then.
So you've got to do it. She's earworming for me tomorrow night.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you hear what Adrian Olson has said? Well blagged, Mike. Now that I find insulting. I wasn't blagging.
He meant every bit of it tonight.
Yeah, I know. I did. That's what's worrying, actually, Adrian. Everything you've seen tonight is genuinely what happened. I don't blag. I got nothing to blag about, mate. I'm convinced, good lady, the FFS is genuine wood turning term, because she is a lot from the shed, yeah. FFS. And that's not frames per second, is it now? For frame's sake. I'm not doing it live, though I am too slow. No, listen, Rob. Do it live, please.
Do it live. It's never stopped you before, Rob.
Do it live, because people like Wayne and Mark and Pete, who think they know better and know everything, will give you all the advice you need.
Yeah.
My pleasure, Nigel.
It takes you all day, doesn't matter.
Thanks for coming, mate. I really appreciate it. Well, Andrew Williamson, very true. A man who never made a mistake, never made anything. Well, that's true. My life has been full of mistakes, so I've never made anything. I never got to the end. It's either flown off the lathe, cracked on me, or broken. Or somebody's pinched it. All the best, Stuart. Take care, mate. Thanks. I hope you give me a thumbs up for the colouring attempt. Sorry, the colouring, not the attempt.
The artwork.
Yeah, the artwork.
Art. So now you're an artist.
Yeah, Art Deco. Right, I'm just gonna jump in this hole a minute. Excuse me. I've got to fix this hole.
All those tools. That's a bit of a giveaway, Mike.
No, it's all right. I've got a bit of wire wool in the shavings. I've sorted now. It's all right. Okay, guys. Give another 5 minutes, and then I think we'll say au revoir. It's been, good God, 2.25 hours of utter rubbish, but enjoyable nevertheless. Well, for me, anyway.
I've enjoyed it.
Well, of course you've enjoyed it. Yeah, of course you've enjoyed
hundreds
it.
of them.
Thank you, Paddy B, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. Thanks, Terry. Take care. All the best, mate. Right. Okay. Yeah, well, you do that, Rob. I will be there giving you all the advice to make sure it flies off the lathe, mate. Don't you worry.
Alf Bade would like to see the platter again.
Mark Bade, what was the platter? What was the platter? It was. I'll tell you what, Mark. It was round, which for me is good. It's not finished by any means. It was a live that was done yesterday at Ed Oliver's. I visited Ed Oliver, and he does a live every Saturday morning, and he gave me a lesson in bowl turning. And you can see why I prefer to turn goblets, because that's what he taught me to turn. I mean, look at it, for God's sake. No, we turn the bowl together, and as you well know, I'm not a colorist. Well, I wasn't until tonight. Yeah, so we played around with some colours. I got colour on my jeans, colour on me everywhere, actually. And that's the bowl, actually. It's a piece of very... not punky as such. There's quite a few inclusions of sycamore, English sycamore. So that's the bowl, and I brought it home to finish it sometime.
And that is the link of the colouring happening yesterday.
Bugger, you beat me.
And there we are, Mark. Pete's put the. It was a bit of a bit of a. It was a bit of a Laurel and Hardy moment, but it was good. It was good fun.
Very enjoyable.
Yeah, I like that one. That was good. When I read the comments last night, I saw all the horrible things Mark said about me, and that one did make me chuckle, because I thought, yeah, that's spot on. Spot on. Thanks, Martin. Take care, mate. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. So I will make a list. We'll have a quick chat afterwards about the sound and that, and I'll make a little list what I've got to check, a little checklist. Yeah. Cheers, Marky. Adrian, seriously though, Mike, many thanks. It was a lesson worth seeing, and your wise words are always worth listening to. It was very kind of you, Adrian. Thank you. Listen to my words as opposed to copying what I do sometimes. Okay. Finish it, turn the colour off it. Yeah, that's a good idea, Simon, actually. That'll shock Ed. That'll shock Ed. Yeah, that's a great idea. Just got the notice. Sorry, I missed. No, you're not. You won't be. You'll be sorry you did. You'll be happy you missed it, and sorry if you didn't. Radio Face Woodworks. But thanks very much for popping in. I appreciate it. Brian Hartwood. Mark's tired, Mike. Yes, I know he is, but he's tough. Tough, basically. I mean, I'm not kidding. I don't work my pit crew hard, but I've got Mark who's fallen asleep, and I've got Pete who's got a broken ankle, but I just won't let them stay at home. You see, they got to come to work. Don't know what state they're in. Well, yeah. Apart from one of the pit crew I used to, he did have a knife in his back, but he only managed the first 5 minutes before he expired. But I mean, he did come to work. I made sure he came to work.
Well, made sure he got to work.
Yeah, yeah. Oh. Are you going to invite Ed to yours for a live demo? Very unlikely, Andrew. In fact, it's possible. Yes, one day Ed will travel up here. 2 hours there, 2 hours back. The thing was, he did say, "Don't worry about food. We'll feed you a bag of crisps and a corned beef sandwich all day." That's all I had. And the crisps were out of date as well.
How did you get a cup of tea until after you've done your work?
No, but I tell you what, the barbecue was fit for a king. Well, fit for a prince. Here, Prince, come here. But no, it was brilliant. He was good. It was good. You know the food's rubbish when the dog runs a mile. Once it comes on the plate, you think, go on, don't throw me that. I'm going. No, it was excellent. Really good. Excellent. I said that enough now. Yeah, you can send me the check now, Ed. Mark Vade, I agree. Turn the colour off it. Yeah, okay, Mark. I might do that, actually. Thanks a lot for the live. L'Atelier, Deleo, thank you. Hello and welcome and goodbye. Thanks very much for coming. Shay, fantastic. Well, not fantastic, but enjoyable, maybe. I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. Best laugh ever. Well, as long as people laugh with me, as they do.
Buster says it's been emotional.
Cheers, mate. Sorry, you what, mate?
Buster says it's been emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Simon. Thanks for coming, mate. Appreciate it. Okay, all the best, Brian. Buster West, you take care, mate. Oh, it's the other one who said emotional. Yeah, it has been emotional. Take care, mate. All the best, Mark. Thanks for tuning in. You take care, mate. Right, guys, I'm going to pull the plug. Thank you all once again very, very much for turning up. And what more can I say? I'd like to thank Mark. Say good night, mate.
You're welcome. Good night, everybody.
And, of course, Peter. Thanks, Peter, very much.
Thanks for coming in, everybody. See you again on the next one.
Take care.
Tomorrow we've got Terry and Mark. I will be here on at least one of them.
There we go.
Yep, Terry from DJ Turn In at lunchtime and myself at 8 o'clock.
I'll definitely,
my usual Monday night.
Yeah, I'll definitely be watching Terry. I'm sure I'll find something else to do tomorrow night. So, all the best with that anyway. Anyway, guys, all the best. Thanks very much indeed. Good night. Take care. And I'll see you hopefully in 2 weeks. Good night now. Cheers.
Cheers.